what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another City Skylines 2 Developmental Diary Inside Look. This is from Zones, or something like that. It's like zoning, whatever. Anyways, I'm going to review the insider video and just explain how I feel about the new City Skylines zoning. Let's get started. So first and foremost, the volume will be on low, but we will be listening to it, and I will be stopping it if I find something interesting. Let's go. I still love the logo.
Okay, let's talk about zoning.
Random side note with zoning. So, by the way, we are in a different City Skylines city. This is not like the original one we've been seeing, but to the top left, there is a train depot, and then there is a cargo train station. That's just something, I don't think we've seen that yet in any of these videos, so I just want to let you know that that is something I found. Also, the football stadium at the left, Chirper. It is a Chirper football stadium. Look at that. You have the logo and you have the Chirpers. Wow, that's cool. Anyways, let's keep going.
We have the familiar tools returning, which are the fill tool, which fills the entire continuous zone with the selected zone type. Then we have the marquee tool where you can select these rectangular areas and just plop a little zone there. You can also have the paint tool, which you can use to basically paint cell by cell.
So far, nothing has changed from City Skylines 1 to City Skylines 2. You can still zone the same exact way. So, you know, I guess we're just done with this video, I guess. Zoning is done. But I do want to let you know, straight in front of you, there is an industrial zoning. So that means, I'm assuming industrial zoning or industries will come with the base game. That is my assumption. Let's keep rolling.
Make the zones exactly the way you want.
Compared to CS1, in CS2, the dezoning tool is added to your mouse, and it's the right click on your mouse, so it's not a separate tool.
Okay, so using the right click to dezone your City Skyline city, that is something new. I really like that. That's going to be very time saving.
Anymore.
You can even zone over existing zones.
Oh, I actually really like that, to be honest with you. I really like that to be like, basically, say if you want to add commercial, you just plop over it and then watch, it'll rebuild.
At release in City
There you
Skylines, will feature two architectural styles, North American and European.
Okay, so I think the North American and European styles are gonna make a massive difference. And also, by the way, at the bottom left, you can see disable tutorials. So I think that's something that if once we get used to playing City Skylines 2, we're definitely gonna want. But for newer players, definitely you're gonna need it. Ooh, you could also restart tutorials and continue them. That's actually also interesting. I just noticed that now. That's different from the last video. See, we start rambling about tutorials and you can see we have different options. All right, let's keep going.
These styles include zoned buildings, service vehicles,
there you go.
road markings, and roadside props.
Okay, so the main difference, let me go back. Here we go. This is where I wanted to stop here. The main difference between the North American and the European theme is there's going to be different vehicles that we're going to see. So obviously in the United States, we have different service vehicles, basically. We'll just call them service vehicles because, I mean, there's police, there's ambulances, there's fire trucks and stuff like that. So that's one of the main differences. Then you'll also notice that there are different signs. So that's pretty cool for the European and North American differences in theming. So that's good to know. I'm very happy about that.
Service vehicles, road markings, and roadside props.
By the way, random side note, I love these medium-sized buildings. I love them. This is what you'd consider your row houses, so they're going to talk about this shortly.
First game, there were only 2 residential zone types. In the second game, we are introducing third level, medium.
Medium. Okay, so medium, that was probably the row houses that they were just talking about.
Have medium density row housing.
There you go, row housing, row housing. So if we go back a smidge, there, here's our row housing. This is what you would define row housing is right here. I think those buildings are really cool. If you go to certain parts of certain cities, like bigger cities like I feel like San Francisco has like row houses. New York City has row houses and stuff like that. So just something to keep in mind. I think that's a cool addition, and they're medium-sized buildings. So that's also a huge plus because you're going to have a decent amount of people living in them.
Medium density row housing, medium density apartment buildings, mixed housing.
Okay, so we just saw something amazing. So mixed housing, but then you also apartment complex buildings, and you saw a small and a large one. Right now it's obviously on the large apartment buildings, but let's hear what they have to say about that.
With shops at the bottom and apartments at the top, as well as low rent housing.
Okay, so here is your low rent housing. Let's hear how they explain what it exactly is.
Low rent housings are bigger buildings with small apartments. People who are living in these kind of buildings are students, young adults who have just moved out, or singles.
Okay, so low density, or not low density, but like the so for the low density apartment buildings, you're going to be single, a student, or you're going to be newly, like you're a new adult. And that's really cool, I think, honestly. And it's very realistic. Like, you know, when you're single and by yourself, you don't have much income to put towards your, towards your rent and stuff like that. So that's really cool. And I like how the high rises. Also, in the background, I just want to show you, you can see the tunnels, but there is a peanut roundabout. I thought that was cool. Anyways, let's keep going. So I do like, I've already said this before, but I love the medium-sized buildings. They look absolutely fantastic and realistic. Like, they look cool. I love the billboards. And then I think those are actually in the mixed zoning, but we'll talk about that shortly.
Mixed housing is a new zone type in City Skylines 2. It answers the demand for low commercial and medium density residential.
Okay, so that is something we finally learned about the mixed residential, the mixed commercial and mixed the mixed zoning, we'll just call it. So the commercial building, or the commercial on the bottom floor, so the first floor commercial is low commercial. So it's not like going to have a million jobs working there, but that is really cool. And then above it is a medium-sized building. I really, really, really love that. That is a 2-for-1 for me. And I think I'm really going to utilize those buildings a lot in City Skylines too.
These apartments are good for saving space because they have both the shops and the apartments.
The shop at the bottom of the building pays rent, so the residents of the building doesn't have to pay that much.
Okay, so that is very, very interesting. So the low density commercial pays most of the rent for the mixed zone building. And what happens after that is that lower income residents can live there because they're not paying so much rent because, well, hello, we already have our commercial building paying for most of it. Okay, I'm a big fan of that. Also, in the background, I also like that train depot. I think it looks amazing. Anyways, let's keep the show on the road. You know, I just want to see if anything else. I'm just looking to the left. Okay, you can see it has 60 households, so that's amazing. 90 residents, that's also amazing. You can see dogs. There's a paw print. So you can see that they have animals. Then, oh, the average wealth is wealthy. Okay, maybe I was wrong about, like, it doesn't make sense. So she just said that residents don't pay as much for rent because there's a building under, or there's a commercial building on the first floor, but yet every single person's wealthy. Anyways, let's keep going. And you can notice that there's 54 employees that low density commercial. That's very interesting.
The mixed housing buildings have the separate section for shops and apartments.
Okay, actually, they just showed that really. So I know that they just said it was about wealthy. So I clicked back a little bit. You can see here that it's interesting because the average wealth in that building is wealthy, but then you look at the actual breakdown of it, it's kind of like what they mentioned before, that the low density housing is more for uneducated, poorly educated, like the person just leaving mom and dad's home and going to college, or somebody just finishing up college and, they're just trying to get educated and, get a good job. So I find that really, really, really interesting that it says average wealth, but then like the breakdown of the diagram. Oh, that's the employees. I'm sorry, not the residents. All right, let's keep going. Oh, God.
A separate section for shops and apartments, and they can mix and match to create a large variety of combinations.
I do love the mixed buildings. Like, look at that on the left-hand side. This just reminds me of a big city vibe, honestly. I love it. It looks amazing at night too, by the way. Oh my God.
The zoned industry has two categories of buildings. Most of the buildings are manufacturing companies, but there are also warehouses.
Really random side note that, they're getting into industry right now, but like, look at how much pollution these industrial buildings give off. Holy cow. And I'm going to say something really stupid, but whatever. You're going to see that there's different smoke layers. So like there's the smokestack in front of us. You can see it's gray smoke, but then there's smokestack in the back that is, it's whiter. It's a whiter cloud. So maybe some of the industrial buildings have different levels of pollution. Like that white smoke is probably less pollution than the black dark smoke we see in front of us. That's just a theory.
Where these companies can store their produced goods before they are sent further into the commercial sector or other manufacturing companies or outside connections. In City Skylines 2, we have overhauled and improved on the zoning demand calculation.
By the way, I'm going to stop this. Like some of the warehouses, like look at the detailing of these buildings. Like you see the AC units, you see air ducts and stuff like that. Like absolutely amazing attention to detail. And the parking lots that they show in some of these buildings are amazing. Like, before parking lots were like an afterthought in City Skylines 1. City Skylines 2, parking lots are a big deal and they put way more attention to detail to them.
We have great tools for you to understand how to zone better. The system is now more complex, but not complicated.
Okay, so they're just showing off the different zoning usage. All right, nothing too bad, nothing crazy. Like we know certain colors mean certain things. Like yellow still means industry. It's on my screen. It looks like a bluish purple. We're gonna still call it blue. That's obviously commercial. Then the pinkish is the not businesses but the offices.
The game has a new feature called City Specialization Bonus. This means that companies working on same materials and producing similar goods, when placed in close proximity, these companies gain an increase in efficiency, which in turn increases their productivity and profit. Okay,
so I'm gonna throw this out there. So this clearly at the bottom of the screen is the farming industry. I think we can all agree to that, which it's kind of like a weird version of the farming industry because I don't know. It looks like there's, I don't know. This is gonna sound weird, but it looks like the farming industry has just random buildings plopped over it. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, where are your roads to get crops in and out of your farming industry? I don't know, but let's get back to what they're talking about. So essentially, in order to maximize the efficiency of your farming industry, for example, like you have to have the warehouses and industry nearby. So I find that interesting because, a lot of farms, I kind of just leave them out in the middle of nowhere and, I don't really build around them. So the interesting part is we're going to have like giant, massive pollution warehouse buildings and industrial buildings to make it more efficient. I don't know if I like that part, but anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so there's that one building. Okay, so like you could see the main building of the farming industry. Like, why are the other buildings just plopped in the middle of nowhere? Like, I have a feeling that this isn't something is being covered up by those the farm wheat or like the fields themselves, because it's just weird to have those random buildings randomly out there. I don't know. I feel like this was an edited part of the video. It's just weird to see buildings floating out in the middle of a farm. I don't know. Let me know in the comments section below. Am I going crazy, or am I making a good point? It's just weird. Also, if you look there, you could see some of the farmer tractors and stuff like that. That's cool.
In City Skylines 2, land value system has been overhauled. This time, it's the citizens and companies that decide which areas are desirable in your city.
Okay, so land value in this year's in City Skylines 2 is based on the citizens and companies around it. So know what that means? You can no longer plop down a park, make everything happy, and automatically increase the land value. Dang it!
And it is your job to provide them with the services and opportunities they need to live prosperous lives.
Okay, so they mentioned that pretty simple. They mentioned that you have to give them services. So essentially, just like City Skylines 1, you probably need to provide healthcare, police, fire coverage, and everything else in between. So that's pretty normal from City Skylines 1. Nothing too crazy.
The zoning tool also introduces zoning overlay. This includes information for the different zone types, where to zone them, and which places are not maybe the best places for them to be in.
Okay, so let's go back to that. So for example, that waste building gives off a lot of pollution. And so you could just see that, if you place down the residential building next to the waste industrial plant, which I don't know whose housing would want to honestly be that close, but you could just see the pollution that it gives off. So that's something we haven't seen. Like, I know in City Skylines 1 they had it, but in City Skylines 2, this is the first time we're actually seeing this live in person.
Zone them, and which places are not maybe the best places for them to be in. A new feature in City Skylines are the signature buildings. These are unique, ploppable zone buildings that decrease the demand of the zone type they are in.
Okay, so let's just stop that there. So we have unique buildings back in City Skylines 1, which is fantastic. They really do add to your to your city and make them absolutely unique. So that's really cool. I'm happy about the unique buildings.
These buildings are unlockable. They usually have 2 to 3 different requirements before they're unlocked. In addition to contributing to the zone demand, they also have positive effects to their neighborhoods as well as the city as a whole.
So just like before, unique buildings will bring up your land value and make your citizens around the unique building a lot happier. So that was also in City Skylines 1, so that's pretty normal, but still good to know. Really good to know, actually. There you go. Look at that. So, I paused it at the perfect time by accident. You can see +4 to well-being if you're within 1 kilometer of the building. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So that actually means something. So when your citizens are happy, like, obviously in City Skylines 1 they had it, but in City Skylines 2, you can actually, there's like kind of a bonus for having it within a mile, so maybe this large apartment, well, they call it Polaris Suites. That's kind of like the airline. Anyways, it's United Airlines has Polaris Suites. Anyways, so if you put this in a downtown area and you have high density residential, you're going to get a lot with +4 to well-being. So something interesting. Whoa! Hey, look at that. We have the ore industry to the right there. Oh, wow. That kind of looks, you can see the gray outline. So remember the farm industry had that brown wheat-like looking thing? Well, for the ore industry, it's going to look gray. So I'm assuming, this is my assumption, when you paint the ore industry or the actual farming industry, like, it's going to turn to certain colors just to be like, hey, this is the, ore industry. Like, all that gray is there on purpose. Ooh, that was a very cool ending to that. So did you see the crane? I don't know if that's any part of it, but that was pretty cool. The crane building the building. Anyways, guys, so please let me know in the comments section below, what did you think of this developer insider? I feel like we gained a lot of information on zoning, and it made me really excited for this game. I think the one thing that was just an eye-opener was the different types of buildings. Like you can see here, the low wealth, you know, the low density. It's not low density, but it's high capacity buildings for lower income people. So that's really cool. I love that part. And then obviously I'm going to move forward. I love the mixed use buildings. And I love that we know that there's the low density commercial buildings that are at the bottom of the mixed use. And then obviously we're going to have medium-sized buildings or medium-sized residential that are also living in those. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know your opinion below. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day.